Okay, so 5'9", so it could totally take the previous guy. So if you set up like a cage match for your for a date with you, it would be tough. It would be interesting. Okay, dashes out religion, graduated from college, income 40 to 50K, doesn't have kids but might want them. Might want them, okay? So he says, everyone has good times and bad times in their lives. I believe that it's how you behave during the difficult times that defines your character. It's easy to be positive when everything is going right for you, but to keep a positive attitude when life gets tough takes an exceptional person. Life is meant to be enjoyed. I don't mean that you should dive into every easy pleasure that comes your way. True happiness comes through moderation, slowing down to appreciate the small things. All right. I'm going to tell you, this is going to sound awfully nitpicky, but I think nitpicky is good when you're looking for a life companion. So he says, life is meant to be enjoyed. So there's a statement. Then I think he says, well, what if somebody thinks I'm a hedonist? I better correct that. I don't mean that you should dive into every easy pleasure that comes your way, blah-de-blah-de-blah, right? So already he's kind of having two sides of the conversation. This is what I believe. Oh, but I don't mean this. I mean blah, 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 right? And so this is somebody who I would imagine would be concerned with how you might react to what he's saying, and those people are very hard to have conversations with because they're constantly interrupting you to tell you what you should think about what they're saying. Does that make any sense?
You nailed it. You nailed it. That is a pervasive issue across the board of my interpersonal relationships.
Go
all
on.
over the place. Oh, gosh. When I first started the retail industry 5 years ago here in where I live, this is a very mild-tempered town until somebody doesn't agree with somebody, and then it's just all hell breaks loose. They become crazy lunatics. This is what I've noticed in the working world. And people tiptoe around each other. So all of my social interactions have really painted me as someone who's too direct and too almost, sometimes they think I'm obtuse because I don't get the insinuated like direction of where I'm supposed to be interpreting their conversations. Does that make sense, or am I doing that too?
No, I think, you want to be direct. You want to be frank with people. Look, convoluted conversations are exhausting to carry on for a lifetime. They're exhausting for 20 minutes. I don't like when I'm talking with someone and they try to manage my responses to what they're saying. I'm like, hey, I'm just going to go get a coffee. You can continue the conversation with me. I don't obviously need to really be here because you're not asking me, you're not sort of probing my responses. You're not curious about how I'm responding to what you're saying. You're trying to manage how I respond. And I find that exhausting, off-putting, alienating, and kind of tragic because it means that the person has not been just listened to and accepted. That they've run into these landmines and now they're constantly trying to defuse the bombs called other people. But if you imagine living and raising children with someone like that, it just becomes completely exhausting. And again, we all have that impulse sometimes. But being conscious of it and saying, oh, you know what, I'm actually just trying to control what you're responding to, or control your response, or manage your response, and that's not the same as actually talking with you. So let me just say what I think and be curious about what you hear. Because if I'm frank with people, and just tell them what I think and feel, and they get offended and upset, well, it's good to know, right? It's good to know that people can't listen to an argument or can't listen to a perspective or a thought or a feeling without going off the rocker. Well, I don't want to spend time with people like that. Why? That's no, I don't like jogging in minefields either. It tends to be a little stressful. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's the image that I get all the time. Just being afraid to step on a minefield in a conversation that leaves you so you have no identity. There's really no identity.
Yeah, and I always feel like let me just have my responses. Maybe I'll like what you're saying, maybe I won't, but we can have a conversation about it. But it feels like these tentacles, these like ghost tentacles, these glass tentacles come out of people's head, and they're constantly trying to manipulate what it is I'm thinking and feeling, and it's like I don't like squid heads. I think that's my fundamental statement.